What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's video we are going to be building a hardcore off-road driveline for the S10 Rocklander. When we were doing the Fordyce Trail down in California, I ended up hitting my driveline on several rocks and bending it. I didn't even notice that it was bent until we hit the forest road on our way out of the trail and the whole truck was vibrating pretty bad. I was able to limp it back to the trailer and make it home. So this is not a cheap budget DIY, try and make it cheap type of video. Usually that's what I'm doing, is trying to make something budget, cheap, and get away with that as best I can. In this particular case, we're dumping a bunch of money into all of these parts in order to make, hopefully, the last driveline that I will have in the S10. You can actually buy kits that have all the pieces to build a hardcore rock crawling DIY drive shaft kit. Busted Knuckle Off-Road has them, Wide Open Design has them, Adam's Drive Shaft has them. There's a bunch of companies where you could buy all these components in a kit. I ended up getting these from Busted Knuckle Off-Road because in the kit they always come with this piece, and then actually the slip yoke down here, which this part of mine is good. I don't really need to spend the extra $120 to buy another slip yoke because this yoke will actually work in this one right here. So that's a savings of $120 not having to buy that yoke and then buy another U-joint, which I have an almost brand new one still on the back of there. So that's why I didn't buy the full kit. I just bought these two pieces, and then you have to get the 1350 U-joint, and I bought a Spicer flanged yoke in order to fit this all together. So I'm putting up on the screen right now the exact parts list that I have for this project, totaling $291.81, not including tax or shipping, because obviously that's going to be different depending on the state that you live in. So we have a baseline cost of the $291.81, and this 5-foot section of 2.5 quarter wall DOM tube was $100. So we are at a total of $391.81 starting out with. Now, again, not with tax or shipping, and not including labor, weld wire, time, and also the chance that we might have to go get this balanced when we're all done. When you add all this up, it's not cheap, but it is cheaper than having someone build one for you, because this particular drive shaft that I bent, I was in a time crunch and I had someone locally, a local shop, build it for me, and I'm not super happy with the way that it turned out. It was smooth and it drove nice down the road, but they used 095 wall tube for this, which is not thick enough for what I'm doing for rock crawling. It needs to be at least 120 wall minimum. And in my opinion, because the drive shaft is so long, it is so exposed under there, without doing a two-piece drive shaft, that would give me the most clearance, but it's, like I said, very, very expensive. So I think this is the best solution for me, is running the thickest, heaviest wall tube that you can buy. The overall length of this new drive shaft, I want it to be exactly the same as the old drive shaft, but we are changing parts and components This flange is a little bit longer. This spline slip yoke is a little bit shorter. So we have to measure all of these, calculate out, and figure out exactly how long the tube is going to be on this piece. And I don't have a chop saw or anything that's going to cut something perfectly straight. So I used a piece of paper and some tape, marked this thing out, and we were able to cut a pretty darn close to as straight as you can cut on this piece of tube. I was installing this yoke, and for some reason I realized that I forgot when I was putting this into the tube, I forgot to phase these yokes. Very important. So this yoke right here has to be at the same plane, same level as this yoke right here. So I have everything level on that side and the center of my tube marked on both ends. And then we just shoot our laser down, and I realized that I am about a 1/16 of an inch off. Okay, we are back where we started, where I last left off, except this yoke is level with this yoke. We are in phase, and this was off about a 1/16 of an inch or less, but I wanted to make 100% sure that this was in phase. Now before we fully weld this, I'm going to bolt it into the truck, and then we are going to check run out on the drive shaft itself to make sure that it is completely straight, and we're starting with the best possible straight drive line that we can. We have the drive shaft bolted in, we're under the truck, and we're using our dial indicator to measure the run out of the drive shaft, because not only do we want to phase the yokes, we want the run out on this drive shaft to be as close to 0 as possible. So we're going to measure 2 inches off of this end here in the center, and then 2 inches from the end of the shaft down there. So I already have done it off camera, and using the dial indicator we figured out our low. We marked our low and our high spots and the amount of run out that each one has, and you can see this is 30 thousandths here, and then as we go down the shaft it actually gets better. So that means that this yoke is not fully straight, and I'm going to have to mess around with this. So with the high and low parts marked, I'm going to pull it out and I can see it better on the workbench, and then we'll figure out the next step. I want to take into account how much run out this tube has just on its own without, putting these yokes or this flange and everything into consideration. I want to make sure I factor that in as well, but it looks like we have about 6 thousandths of run out just on the tube itself. You're never going to get a tube that is perfectly round. That's just not going to happen. So I ended up just cutting all the tack welds on this yoke here because I was not getting good results. It was pretty far out, and I tried a couple times. I just didn't like the way it turned out. So cut all the tacks in the truck, and then found the high and low spots, tapped it with a hammer, and then got it. So I have 6 thousandths, the exact same amount of run out that I had with just the tube by itself. So at this point, with this piece of tube and the setup I have now, I cannot get the run out any better than I have 2 inches from this yoke right here. So we'll double check the rest of the way down the tube in a couple more spots, and then we will just start it up and spin it up and see what it looks like. We're going to repeat the same process on the rear of the drive shaft, set up our dial indicator. We're going to cut all the tack welds on this spline stub shaft. And we're going to hit it with the hammer, try and get it as close as possible. So on the jack stands, I got it up to about 55 miles an hour. That's about as fast as I got it up to until I didn't feel comfortable in the garage on the jack stands, and I felt no vibrations in the truck. That doesn't necessarily mean that I won't have a vibration once I get it out on the road, but I'm basically at the run out on both ends that just the tube by itself has. So that is the best that I can get it with the tools that I have in my garage. So I'm gonna take it out, fully weld the whole thing, and hopefully things won't change or move around, and then paint it, bolt it in, and we're gonna take it for a test drive. Now the proper way to do this before you weld this yoke is to remove the U-joints, but you can see here that I did not do that. I ended up taking some ice water and soaking this blue rag in ice water and wrapped it around all the parts that I wanted to not get super hot. It ended up working pretty well. Another thing we're going to have to address is our rear pinion angle, and because we're switching from a double cardan where there's two joints to a single joint, we are going to have to change our pinion angle according to these charts. The driveline is all done, bolted in, just got back from the first test drive, and I'm pleasantly surprised. It has a slight vibration above 55. So we are good all the way up to about 55, 60, and then it has a really fine, just hum vibration. Now, this driveline is not balanced. I didn't do anything to it to figure out balance or anything like that. I'm probably just going to drop it off at the local driveline shop, have them balance it. In between that, and then maybe fine-tuning the pinion angles just a little bit more, we are going to get rid of that vibration that I'm having. So for right now, we are done with this. I can drive it until I take the driveline out to take it to the driveline shop. Hopefully that won't take very long, but I am going to get it balanced because I do need to drive it down the highway. So that's going to be it for now. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, like the video, do all the regular YouTube stuff. If you got any comments about how I should have done it differently, leave those down below. I'm really open to those because, guys, I'm not a professional. I'm just a guy with a grinder and a welder trying to build stuff in my garage just like you guys. So I'm looking for advice just like anybody else. So leave those down in the comments. That'd be awesome. If you want to check me out on social media, I'm at MuddyBeards4x4. We got a website, shirt, stickers, muddybeards4x4.com. And also, make sure you guys check out Barnes 4-Wheel Drive, our sponsor for the channel. They offer you guys as subscribers 10% off. Use the link in the description or the code MuddyBeards at checkout. It's that time of year, guys. Projects, garage projects, building stuff. Make sure you take advantage of that discount code that Barnes 4-Wheel Drive gives to you guys. And until next time, guys, we will see you here in the garage.